я хочу сказать, у меня один блинчик, это будет и Хавье оне панкаке, у меня 3 блинчика, и Хавье сре панкаке.
In the world of AI agents, infinite scrolling, and learning apps engineered to flood your dopamine receptors, there has never been so much consumption with so little actual learning. I blame mostly our educational systems.
What is faster, sound or light? Ah.
Sound.
Ah.
I think sound, bro.
Ah.
Light might have got you.
Light
right,
might have got-
a little bit,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
Bob.
yeah.
But thinking about it, billion-dollar corporations might have their role in it too.
I'm gonna have to go with no on that.
Fortunately for you, it only takes a few minutes to undo the damage. Here is the problem. Memories don't really exist, or at least not in the way you think they do. Call me naive, but throughout my whole life, I thought that once we form a memory, it stays there, and it doesn't really change. But reality couldn't be further from the truth. Memories don't behave like recordings. They behave more like reconstructions. Instead of working like a camera that snaps a picture and stores it, think of your brain as a painter who maybe had a beer or two before trying to paint an image. Every time you recall a memory, you reconstruct that event from scratch, and over time, this causes the memory to change. Just like a copy of a copy of a copy wouldn't look like the original. This malleable nature of our memory is called neuroplasticity, and it is the sole reason we are able to learn anything at all. But besides learning, it is also the reason we are full of messed up perceptions and false memories. There is this site on the internet that is a personal favorite of mine. It is called the Cognitive Bias Codex, that maps out every single way your brain lies to you. So, to remain accurate while learning, you constantly need feedback on what you got wrong versus what you got right. This is because our perception of our own knowledge is quite frankly horrible.
Ah.
When we get tested on something we barely grasp, we consistently overestimate how much we actually know. Let me show you an example from this creator.
On the x-axis, we have the students divided in 4 groups, according to how good they performed in the test. The y-axis shows at which percentile a given test score stands in relation to all the other test scores. The graph for the actual test scores looks like this. Now comes the interesting part. If all the students had perfectly assessed their own performance, the graph of their perceived ability would perfectly match the graph of the actual test scores. Instead, it looks like this. The students in the lowest scoring quartile grossly overestimated their ability relative to their peers. This can be explained by the aforementioned concept of metacognition. If you lack the knowledge to answer correctly, you also lack the knowledge to correctly assess your own performance.
So, here's the first real takeaway. If you want to master a skill or a hobby, never trust the illusion of knowing. The only honest test of what you actually know is whether or not you can produce it without any external help. That is, if you even remember. Did you know it takes only a day to forget about 70% of a new memory?
Is that butter? Is that butter? Is that butter? Butter? Is that butter?
That's crazy. Them dudes said the same thing.
Yeah, these dudes next to me said the same thing.
If you watched my previous video, you're already familiar with the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. Despite how depressing it sounds, this forgetting is actually necessary. It filters out the trivial stuff, like you sneezing at 3:29 p.m. on a random Tuesday. Don't remember that? Exactly. What we call learning is not the storing of information. Rather, it is the repeated disruption of forgetting. Neuroplasticity changes your brain to adapt to almost anything new, but only if you actually need and use that knowledge in your daily life. It is simply not enough to know something. You need to interact with that knowledge, retrieve it, and grapple with it from time to time. Let me show you an example. For some reason, I really enjoy watching chess videos from this guy. In them, he breaks down the moves of a game in a way that makes them easy to grasp.
But the move here that wins the game for white is knight d4. And the bishop defends mate, and if queen h6, bishop takes b7! Look at this move! This is insane! The point of this is that you deflect the bishop from the defense of the f5 square, and then you sacrifice the rook! King takes knight f5, and if the king goes anywhere else, it's just losing. You take the bishop, and you just win. Black has absolutely no defense against queen d5, etc.
Beyond just the technical analysis of the matches, He also breaks down the psychology and the thought processes of the players.
Fight against Magnus. You're covering, you're doing this. And he rotates and just absolutely bombs a shot right here. Right here. Solar plexus, liver, and it crumbles you. And that is what you are about to see in the remainder of this game.
Nevertheless, from the countless hours I spent watching his videos, I have gained exactly 0 elos in my own games. Why? Because I watched them for entertainment. I didn't know it at the time, but simply exposing myself to chess content is not going to make me better. The same way that watching Bob Ross videos to fall asleep to is not going to make me a better painter.
One of the most interesting things that we see as we run across the country teaching this fantastic method is people continually say, I can't draw a straight line. I don't have the talent, Bob, to do what you're doing. That's baloney. Talent is a pursued interest. In other words, anything that you're willing to practice, you can do.
And practice is indeed what you need. Sitting down to a chessboard is how you learn chess. Standing in front of a canvas with a brush in your hand is how you learn to paint. I get that for many of you this feels blatantly obvious, yet I think you'd be surprised how many of us forget to implement it. When I lived in the Netherlands, I used to grind Duolingo lessons to learn the language instead of going out and talking to people. In high school, I used to study for tests by rereading textbooks instead of just simulating the test questions for myself. You get the idea. The kind of practice that is the most effective is the one that is most similar in nature to what you will be performing in real life. So far, we have established the following. Your memories are reconstructions, prone to change over time. You forget them quickly, as seen on the Ebbinghaus curve. In order to disrupt this process, you need deliberate practice with some sort of feedback. And finally, this practice must induce plasticity, so you can rewire your brain and retain that knowledge. So let's talk about how to do that. Plasticity has 3 preconditions. Number 1, it only happens if something requires effort, aka sucks. The more it sucks, the better the learning will be. I wish it wasn't like this, but hey, I don't make the rules. Most people already mess up here, since this is very counterintuitive. The dumber you feel during studying, the smarter you'll become later. Number 2, it requires retrieval, aka digging up the treasure that you buried for yourself earlier. Not having the info readily available in a book or by asking AI is actually what signals to your brain that the information might need to be stored. Number 3, finally, plasticity requires spaced repetition. This is the weirdest and arguably the most counterintuitive part of learning. In order to disrupt forgetting, it needs to happen first. In other words, studying something for 1 hour will lead to worse results than studying it for 30 minutes on 2 consecutive days. The reason is simply that by splitting your study session in half, you allow more forgetting to occur before you disrupt it again. To take this to the extreme, simply space out your studying to right when you're about to forget everything. Why? Because nothing takes more effort than recalling something you'd almost forgotten. And remember point 1. The more it sucks, the more plasticity happens. If you only do these 3 things, you will be already ahead of 99% of people. And if you want to learn how to combine them into a simple system, go watch this other video I made on the topic. But everything we discussed so far is basically meaningless without getting at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep in a dark, cold, and quiet environment. I'm grateful for your attention.